Hello and welcome, California Miramar University students, to Organizational Theory and Behavior supplemental material. So the point of this video is to give you information that you're not going to find in your book or on the internet. It's brand new, and if I do mention something, it seems like repeat, then let me know. But I'm pretty sure you're not, because what I'm going to demonstrate is how I studied an organization, which I have not published this information, so you're getting it here now, and how I participated in diversity management. And this comes from my personal experience. So you guys are going to get this, and nobody else has gotten it. So go through the material, read your book, watch the supplemental other videos. I just put these slides up. This is a cognitive bias as well. You'll hear me talking about cognitive biases a lot. This is something you can change. Once you're aware of something like McGregor's theory X and Y, you can change it in your head. And then building the business case for managing diversity. You want people who are talented to kind of like help in your company, and you don't want to just keep them silenced. So that's the importance of building the business case for managing diversity. That's where right now in this day and age, we want people of different cultures and people of different, some older employees don't get the respect that they could get because the millennials might not respect them until they do mentor up with them. And then it's like, whoa, there's a lot that this person just taught me. And then there's the diversity. And some people say that it's a woman thing where, if a woman says something in a meeting and then a man says it next, the man might get credit for it. But I've been in meetings where a man says something and then a different man took credit for it. And so it's a matter of perspective, but also being aware of all the possible things that are going on in your company. Like if people who do have great ideas are not encouraged by managers to kind of share them because this is going on. I'm not a fan of managers. I'm a fan of people who have visions, but I understand what managers are for. Managers are there to serve their purpose, to manage things, to help the people that follow your vision lead you to more success. But many of them could use more training in people and helping in dealing with people, because the manager is the person who doesn't have their vision or dream themselves. They're the person who is following your vision and dream and then helping the people who also follow your vision and dream be on the same page and goal. And sometimes they're happy and sometimes they're not. So how I studied an organization, I'll talk about for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I go into about 10 or 15 minutes how I participated in diversity management. Okay, so my vision is to operate a multi-billion-dollar organization, corporation. And in order to operate one, I figured, let me learn how. So I went and I became employed at a multi-billion corporation that had billions and billions in revenue and highly profitable too. So it was not my idea. It was actually a friend of mine had this idea to go work at this corporation. I agreed, and it was great. I ended up staying longer than that friend and then the friend who also helped us get in. Therein lies a trick to getting employed. Know people. So be friends and talk to people and have a network and stay in touch. So, and it was highly competitive and challenging to be employed. Whereas the prior organization that I chose to work for was not actually it was. That one was Mercedes-Benz. And then this one was an entertainment company, Blizzard Entertainment. So I I think it was easier for me because as soon as I walked into Mercedes, I was hired on the spot. And then with Blizzard, it took a few months and months to get hired. So, well, because that wasn't my thing anyways. It was like my friend said, oh, let's go work at this company. And then when I went there and I got in there, I was like, whoa! Because at the same time, I was working on my dissertation in organizational psychology. And so then everything just kind of started to fit together. So as I did my classwork and schoolwork and research, when I went into the office every day, I studied. So how did I study it? My end later result in study was that, okay, because my goal is to have an organization operating with me as a CEO. Let me see how this CEO does it. So I began reading and researching and learning about the CEO and how he got started. So, and then a lot of times the culture is built around that first group of leaders. And the CEO is analytical, very nice, kind. I love when he speaks. Like, I would just be like, wow, he's so sweet. Because there was a time when lots of people got fired or let go, and you could not hide that he was teary-eyed a little bit on stage about that. And that was called a reduction in force, a RIF, where just for whatever reason, it's usually stakeholders at a different level or something else causing that mass, layoff. But just to give you an idea, this person, and that's why I stayed for so long, because I related, like he felt like a nice person and all around great guy and smart computer programmer. I admired that very much. So I was studying the organization. As I got in, it was already like blowing up. It was basically, from my perspective, was a bunch of nerdy guys just ended up having a super successful product that blew up, and everything grew around them so much that the inside of everything was just magically happening. My perspective was, it is a miracle how this company runs, because it was chaos and madness inside. Like, things were a mess. A product would launch in conflicts with another product. A department would do this, another department would do that. This promotion went out, this department didn't know about it. And it was just like, how is it happening? So I watched, and it was the core values of the company that were kind of what glued all the ungluing chaos together. So, and as people were going to the office, it felt like a brother and sisterly love. For most people, actually, everybody was passionate for the products and the company. That was something that I would say 95%, not everyone. And then people like looked out for each other, and it felt like that. It felt like a brother and sister. Like, people liked going to work, going to the office and spending time with the other people at the office. And there was a lot of times where surveys came back and it was almost always, yes, we love the people we work with, and then sometimes we don't like this rule or guideline or this or that. So I studied the organization by seeing what we did every year. Every year there was an annual plan. The annual plan was a presentation that the CEO got on a podium with a PowerPoint and said, hey, this is our plan for this year. So that everybody gets on that page, and then it would like trickle down to directors, from executives to directors, or and then it just everybody, managers, and then managers managing the other people to get to these goals. So having a plan is important. And now I actually work at volunteer at another multi-billion-dollar operation where we don't have that plan. And I have implemented it, and I've hired a general manager, the directors, where we're going towards that, to have that annual plan, because that was so important. So you set your goals. You're going to do five big projects is kind of might be too much. Depends. And 3 might be just enough. But anywhere from 3 to 5, depends. The organization has a feel, and they know their bandwidth and how much they want to spend on new things and risks versus how much they want to spend on fixing their old products and things. So when I started at this organization, there was no movement to new. It was like, no, we're not making an app. No, we're not making a game for mobile. By the time I left the organization, apps were becoming so huge that it was time. Like, we'll say yes to making an app now, or making a mobile game, which they did. A company did. Whoa! Hit my microphone, sorry. It was on my launch list too. And then I'll tell you about a mistake I observed. There was a video game, where there were people in China playing the video game to make video game money in the game, and then they would sell that for dollars or for euros. It would be sold for real money. So it was labor of somebody playing a game, generating in-game of a money, and trading that for real money. And then as time passed, the organization was so against and stopping this, real money. It's a cryptocurrency type of thing, stopping it from happening. Then it was like, okay, now we have this other game, and why don't we just let people do this in this other game? Why don't we let people actually use real money to buy these digital things? And the organization learned a hard lesson, that was not a great idea. It was okay trying it, but it ended up not being that smart. It was called the Real Money Auction House in a video game. And it's okay. So you learn, you're in an organization, you're going to have, especially an entrepreneurial organization, you're going to have pros and cons, mistakes and failures, successes, but the sky's the limit. It's worth trying things. And it ended up balancing itself out anyway. But what was I going to say? So I observed there was a person who was very charismatic who was spearheading that, and that's why it happened in the organization. So you also have to, if you do believe in something and you plan it out and you present it where you show it like it's going to work, it could work. Somebody does it. It's kind of like in investments where you say, oh yeah, we do this investment, it's going to work, we're going to get this return. It'll work. You're convincing enough. So I guess that Real Money Auction House project got convinced enough to actually happen, and then it took some time, I think it was even years, to retract that and not have that happen, not have that happening anymore. And then I studied the organization I studied the organization and how they said yes and no to things. First they said no to making an app, but then the world is full of apps and mobile games, so it was inevitable that they were going to make one. That was going to happen. So that happened. And then a mistake. Sometimes mistakes happen. Well, it's not a mistake. It's a learning experience. And then I will talk about my favorite part of studying this organization, which was a way to help people in the organization move through the organization to different departments and different experiences and things. There was a program called Internal Mobility, and I actually really loved how it operated because it operated similar to an assessment center. An assessment center is not a place, it's a method. We might talk about it later in this book. I'm going to talk about it just a little bit now, in line with internal mobility and the temporary assignments of this organization. So we had Internal mobility was responsible for helping people who are employed in the company work towards other roles. And of course, a lot of times people wanted to be programmers, artists, producers. A lot of people wanted to be something else. I've noticed that a lot. In order to get to somewhere else, you kind of, even if you know people in that department, you still need buy-in from your current manager, and just like, the opportunity to go and maybe do a temporary assignment. So a temporary assignment is where you're already working your job and you're doing great. And then a department that maybe you want to learn more about, or maybe it's your goal to go work there, or maybe not even just a department, but a team, a game team, opens up a temporary assignment. It says, hey, we're looking for somebody to do art for, background. Say it's cinematics department. And so somebody who wants to work in cinematics and or is an artist would be like, oh, I'd like that temporary opportunity. So they would go, that temp assignment, so they would apply like you would apply a job, and it would be similar. A lot of times it's just as hard to get a job while you're in there as it is to get a job from out to in. So this is high demand. When you have companies like Amazon and whatever's in the book, I think is Zappos, and like Tesla and SpaceX, these are like high demand. It's highly competitive to get in. And then once you're in, getting to kind of where your vision is to be in that company. Therein lies how I studied this particular organization. So in a temporary assignment, you go for 2 weeks and you do the job. And it's like a simulation. So you do it for 2 weeks, you could do it for 3 weeks, you can get extended. It could be a temporary assignment for 2 months. So you're still getting paid. The department doesn't matter, the finances behind it, but I mean, if you guys wanted to know, I know it. But you're going, and instead of going to your job, you're going to your temporary assignment, and you're simulating, but really doing that job for that time period of the temporary assignment. Assessment center method, which is pretty awesome, and I'll give you my personal experience because it was in my dissertation. It's a simulation. It simulates you in the job. So say, I'll give you the one from my dissertation. I want to be a banker at this bank or a financial advisor. So for 4 hours, I might sit at a desk and do stuff on the computer, take calls, go to meetings, make cold calls, whatever's on the simulation to do in that 4 hours. And the one I'm talking about is a technology enhanced assessment center. So it's where I could be sitting here at this computer doing the simulation, and the people who are observing me from New York, LA, somewhere else. And they're observing my clicks, and they might be observing me on video, and they're also observing me as the person they're talking to, because they might be like the role-playing person who calls me. So the role-play person will call me and say, hey, this is so-and-so. And so it's a simulation, and then based on how you perform in that 4 hours, there's evidence to support that your performance there could predict your performance on the job. There's a lot of things to think about because certain jobs have higher turnover rate anyway. So maybe somebody 2 years is a long time to be working at a company in the industry of this assessment center, finance. Whereas if you're working at a video game company, like the one that I studied here, you have people staying there for 10, 15, 20 years. Long time. People don't leave. So, and then there's caps in salary where you can't pay somebody more, even because you have a salary cap for their role, and they're there 12 years, and it's just what do you do? That person just, I don't know. you end up, that person has to go somewhere else, maybe to another department, do something else, or these are problems that rarely companies have. And the one that I studied actually had this inverse problem of people not leaving. Whereas the problem in many companies is turnover, because it costs money to hire somebody and train them and have them work for you, and then in 2 years they leave. And that is I would say that is the go-to thing right now. Like 2 years is the kind of thing. And then the generation, the millennials, that generation's more like, yeah, let me go learn what I can learn from this company, go to the next company, get paid more, go to the next company, get paid more. Because there's that too. Because you become competitive, you can go, jump. But if you're passionate and you work at a company like this, you might stay. And then that company has these rare, crazy problems. So let me check time. Oh dear, okay, we're at 20 minutes. So now we have 10 minutes left to discuss how I participated in diversity management. I rambled a little bit at the beginning, and now I'm going to actually give you the whole experience. So I was in a group. So in this company, I studied this company. We had different groups, mailing lists, like one for volleyball, one for chess, one for filmmakers, parents, distro lists. So like if people were interested in sharing parenting stuff, they would be on the parenting list. People who were playing volleyball, they had volleyball. Filmmakers. So I'm giving you the ones that I obviously was part of, so that I knew existed. There's more. So lots. So people became friends easily. And okay, I was part of which group? Probably was it called LGBT? I'm not really sure. I was on and off on the women's group. There was a women at, thread, and I was on and off that because sometimes some of the stuff to me personally was too whiny. And it was just like, just own up to, who you are. And, males kind of get this crap too. So just stand your ground. It's not so much how other people are treating you, but how you're treating yourself and how you think of yourself. So I would get on and off on that women's list. But I stayed on the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBT, transsexual. So I was on that thread. I think it was from there somebody requested people to participate in a diversity group or a diversity council. And this was, well, I have to it was probably, I left in, it started maybe 4 years ago or 5 years ago. It's 2017 right now. No, it's 2018 right now. It's 2018. And I would say maybe it started 3 years ago. Let's get this group together. And I'm going to explain to you how organizations work in California Corporations Code too, because through how this diversity, and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to run through it. We got together as a group of people who participated in the women's and or lesbian, gay, bisexual diversity group. And we began meeting monthly. So we would have monthly meetings. Then after having some monthly meetings, we needed a director and a corporate and kind of a director or a couple directors and a CEO's kind of buy-in to allow to make it an official group or council. Because in California Corporations Code, you need to go kind of through the things. Now you have this official group or council, but you need buy-in and support from directors and CEOs. And then you're legit, and you can have these monthly meetings and or more meetings. And it's volunteers, because I volunteered from a different department to participate in these monthly meetings. Now, the initial, it was an executive who's no longer at the company anymore either, who started this. The executive who started this wanted just the people in the talent of the company to come together and meet so that when the company released something that was diversity related, it didn't seem like fake or pushed or whatever. It seemed natural, and it did successfully. And then I wanted to be in there to put my feedback in. I actually was a sociologist before in New York City, and I had studied drag queens and transsexuals. So I participated, and out of the information, now we didn't get credit in the comic book, I don't think, or in the announcement, because I did not see my name in the credits for the comic book, but it was exactly what I said in that meeting that happened in the comic book for one thing, and then the other thing had all of our feedback in it. So how to manage diversity is to, this particular group was get women and LGBT together. However, there's more diversity. There's people of different religions, people of different cultures, people of different belief systems. And when we were writing up the guidelines for this meeting, for this council, because we were defining what is the goal of this group. So the goal of this group is to help with, this one was more LGBT, and then the women could have their own group. So actually at this time, I don't know if women has their own council or group. They might, but it would have stemmed off of the template that we put together for the gay LGBT, right? And the template was like, we help integrate, fairness and equality stuff into our products. So what ended up happening was the first time in history, a lead, hi. Oh, should I get off?
5 o'clock, we have a class.
I'll be out. I think I have a couple more minutes here, but.
Okay.
Okay, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 minutes? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll leave it up to you. I got 3 minutes, so I'll tell you. So you'll see in movies, Star Wars is starting to do this now with lead females. I'm trying to give you examples. Because you want to do it tastefully, not like it's forced. And then you want your female to be like a normal female, not like the ones that males like to see on screen. So if you want to notice, you'll notice that there is plenty of equal stuff going on in this world. You just it's just, like I said before, it's not what the outside looks into you, it's also what you think of yourself to the outside. That's for anybody of any religion, any culture, anything. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, this religion, that religion, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's wrap it up. So there was a comic that came out, and it's the first time in video game history, the first lead female video game character of a video game. I voted for her to be bisexual. Well, she came out gay in a comic. That's diversity. Then in that same comic, there was a mom yelling for help because somebody stole a Christmas gift. And what I said was, I want the dad to yell for help. Why does it always have to be the mom being like, oh, help me? And you know what? The dad yelled for help in the comic, the Historymaking Comic. So I'm pretty proud of that and my participation in diversity there. And I can tell you a lot more about a lot more other things, but we're wrapping it up here. So happy today, happy every day. And, oh, of course, email me if you have questions and feedback. Email me feedback on the video. What would you like to see more of, less of? Was there something in the video that you want me to talk about more? And just do it. Because look, I'm going to give you feedback on your work. You're going to give me feedback on my work. And we're in a happy place here. So I look forward to reading it. Be brave. Tell me what you think. I've already criticized myself on this video, I'm sure like 50 times before you'll probably send me a message and I'll be like, yeah, they're right. And I will commend you for being brave for sending me that feedback, because it's just something that I probably already looked at in the video and said to myself, yeah, I need to make that better. So just do it. And I look forward to seeing you in class.